What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video where I use my background in social psychology and mentalism to break down scenes from the hit series The Mentalist and tell you which ones are fact, which ones are fiction, and in this video we're going to cover a lot of fun stuff. I'm going to give you guys a quick method for speed reading people, I'm going to tell you guys some secrets that mentalists use, and I'm going to show you a way to know when someone's going to cheat when you're playing cards against them before they even do it. Here we go!
Dim lights, soft music, a maze of passages that lead you back to the pens, or in this case, the slots.
Ooh, don't hold back, speak your mind.
There's no clocks or windows anywhere, so there's no passage of time. Low-priced alcohol is poured down you by attractive young women. Oxygen is pumped into the place to make you stay awake, and the constant symphony of bells and sirens that make it seem like someone's winning all the time. Give me $100, would you?
I don't think that's such a good idea.
Sure you do. Come on, I'll give it back to you double.
Look, here's 100, but you'll pay me back double, right?
Triple.
So I wanted to start with a scene that's a lot of fun with a lot of information, a lot of accuracies, and one small inaccuracy, but mostly for entertainment. Well, let's talk about the details of what he says, which are mostly extremely accurate. Casinos use a lot of psychology to make sure that guests stay on the floor and spend a lot of money. And he names a lot of them. They make the aisles like a maze where you can't really go straight to where you're trying to go. You have to go by the slots, and all roads lead right back to the pit or to the slot machines, and it's really hard to navigate. In fact, a lot of casinos put signs on which way to go depending on where you're trying to get, but will not show you the fastest and most direct way to get there, so you get lost on the casino floor. Second, they make the cashiers very difficult to find and usually very much across the casino from where most of the action is. Like he said, a lot of them don't have windows or clocks, so you don't know what time it is. Time goes by quickly. They have free alcohol in most casinos, and they're often encouraging fun. They tell the dealers and the staff, whenever somebody wins, make noise, get them excited. The slot machines are making all these noises to convince people, okay, I can win here. Now, I did say that there's an inaccuracy in the scene, and here's what it is. We see him asking his colleague for some money, and he seems very confident that he's going to be able to double or triple his money on the casino floor. Well, anyone who knows casinos well and the way they work, like Patrick Jane, would know that there's pretty much zero way to guarantee a victory on any casino floor. They have such insane countermeasures in place. For example, one of my favorites is, next time you're at a casino, go by the craps table and look at the walls. You're gonna notice these little foam pyramids on the walls. And I've often been asked by friends of mine, what is that? Why is that there? Well, in the past, there have been very few cheaters who have the ability to take a pair of dice and throw them, and it looks like they're spinning, but they're not. They're just rotating sideways. So they could control the way it lands. But now, official craps rules say you have to throw the dice against the wall, and those pyramids make sure that the dice hits it on an angle and tumbles vertically as well. Also, in the past, a lot of people have used card counting to win at casinos, but nowadays almost any casino on the planet uses multiple decks, like 6 or 8 decks, and they eliminate half of them. That way you can't really get a reliable count, and you can't cheat that way either. Let me know in the comments if you guys know any other fascinating countermeasures that casinos use to stop cheaters. Speaking of cheating, later in this video, I'm gonna show you a scene from that casino episode, and I'm gonna teach you a way to know when someone is going to cheat, when you're playing cards with them before they even do it. Why? Because I only use my psychology powers for good, and I want to help you guys avoid being cheated when you're playing cards. But for right now, let's move on to another scene. In this next scene, we're going to travel back to when Patrick Jane was much younger, and we're going to see how he developed his mentalism and his ability to read people. But before we look at that, guys, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications on for more amazing mentalism and psychology content.
Cigarette case.
A cigarette case. Yes, yes, very good. But what's it made of, son? What kind of cigarette case, Patrick? What would you say? What's it made of?
Sterling silver.
Your sterling silver cigarette case, Batman. Next object would
The
be...
cigarette case. It once belonged to someone very, very close to you.
That's right.
Yes, the boy wonder sees all. The next object, Patrick.
Someone who's passed on. Quite recently.
Last month.
Your grandfather. No. Your grandmother. She loved you. Very much.
What the hell was that? Your grandmother loves you very much?
Did you see her face? It was beautiful.
No, it was a needless risk.
An heirloom she carries with her. That's a recent death, and she's too young for dead parents. So, a grandparent.
What I love about that scene is not only all the stuff we're about to talk about, but also how there's such a contrast between who he was as a child and who he is now as an adult throughout the series. Because now as an adult, he absolutely hates that whole reading people and trying to communicate with their past relatives. And he stands up against it and speaks up against it. So it's really interesting to see how he has evolved through his career as a mentalist. But in that specific scene when he was a kid, he's doing something called psychometry. This is when a mentalist can tell you things about yourself based on an object that you own. More particularly in this case, what he's doing is called a two-person telepathy act. This is when there are two performers on stage. Typically one is blindfolded, the other one is interacting in the audience, and the one on stage knows things about audience members. The best act in the world who does this are my friends Tessa and Jeff Evasons, also known as the Evasons, and the stuff they do is extraordinary. So she's on stage actually blindfolded. She can't see anything. She doesn't have any earpieces. There are no actors or stooges in the audience. And he'll go out and he'll borrow things from audience members, like he'll take a bill and she'll know the serial number of that bill.
Ignore the letters. I can sense there's letters. Let's just focus on the numbers together. Rachel, is the first number an 8?
Uh-huh.
Good. After the 8, I'm sensing that is a 5.
Yeah.
I think that's another 8.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Is that a 0? No, it's not a 0. It's a 6.
Yes.
Yes. Got you now. And then a 4.
Uh-huh.
9.
Yeah.
A 2.
Uh-huh.
And then a 0.
Yeah.
We have to get the letters.
Of course. That's it.
3 letters. Thank you.
Hold on, Tess. 3 letters.
I believe they are E, F, and A. How'd I do?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Thanks again very much. There's no 2 in the world the same.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Rachel.
helping out, Rachel. Thanks so much.
Now, despite what a lot of people think, this is not psychic energy or reading body language. It really, really looks that way, but like almost all of mentalism, it's a trick. A really clever, extremely well-performed trick, but a trick nonetheless. It has a simple explanation that is beautifully executed. Now, whatever that secret is, which I'm not really allowed to say, I can't guarantee that that's what Patrick Jane and his father were using at the carnival. It could have been anything. It could have been a see-through blindfold so he could see what he's holding. It could have been an earpiece with a third assistant. It could be a number of things. But that's the first part. The part where he knows it's a cigarette case, that's a trick. A lot of mentalists do it. There are a lot of methods. But then he decided to go off script and he did what we call cold reading. Cold reading basically means you observe the person and start making certain assumptions, or you notice something, or they said something, or you saw something, and you feed that to them, and with their feedback, you keep going more and more specific. And there's very clever ways that if you miss, you can hide it. Like you'll notice when he said your grandfather, and he saw that she didn't react, he goes, no, 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 your grandmother. And now that impacts the woman, so she'll leave and go, oh my God, he knew it was my grandmother's, and she'll totally forget that he missed when he said grandfather, because psychics do that a lot, don't they? Like, oh, I'm getting this, it could be wrong. No, 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 it's this. The other thing I really love about that scene is that they basically tell us, the viewers, that the first part of what they did has a trick, because later on his dad is giving him a hard time for going off script and doing the cold reading. He's saying stick to what the real hard technique. So they're kind of, with a wink, telling the viewing audience what you just saw was a little bit of cold reading, but there was also a trick there, which is what his dad wants to stick to.
What to do? If I let you go now, you'll rat me out.
If I may make a suggestion.
No, you may not.
Please, Wilson, I can help.
I cannot go to prison. I need to finish my work, don't you see?
I do, I see. Your work is very important.
Don't go saying you won't tell on me if I set you free, because I know you will.
Wilson, I'm not trying to play you. I will not play you. I understand and respect your intelligence. Have a seat.
So now we are going a lot more into the social psychology side of things. The stuff I'm about to tell you now, I know because of my degree in social psychology and because I study behavioral analysis and persuasion. This has almost nothing to do with mentalism, and most mentalists have no idea that this exists nor how to use it. So when we do actual people reading, like behavior analysts, interrogators, and things like that, you often want to identify somebody's needs. And there are a lot of really great breakdowns of the needs that people have and how you can use that in a conversation. The most popular model of needs that social psychologists use is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's extremely well known, and it's basically a pyramid with 5 stages, and the ones at the bottom are the ones that are the most basic and the most widespread, and the closer you get to the top, the more specific it becomes and a little bit more advanced. Now, behavior experts and people who are really actually good at people reading don't worry too much about the bottom one, physiological needs, because in most social situations, the assumption is that those needs are already met. Where we spend most of our time is in that sort of connection, esteem, and self-actualization area. This is where we try to identify people's deeper needs and try to work with that. So in this case, Patrick Jane was kidnapped by someone who's an environmentalist, an extremist, a protester, and he's done a lot of demonstrations and a lot of vandalism to get his way. So Patrick Jane knows that this guy has a message, and beyond the need for self-actualization, he has a need to be heard. He has an important message that he wants to get out. So if you look at the language that Patrick Jane is using, there's a lot of this sort of, I understand, your work is important. He's catering to that esteem, that need for respect, that need for intelligence. If you're interested in learning more about how to quickly read people, identify their needs, and basically know what they're thinking, there isn't a book I could recommend more on this planet than 6 Minute X-Ray by Chase Hughes. I'll leave a link in the description to where you could get this delivered right to you, but the author Chase is one of the world's leading experts on body language and behavior. He trains law enforcement officers and intelligence agencies on how to read people. So this is a definite winner. But now I want to see how good you are at intuitively identifying someone's needs, just like Patrick Jane from The Mentalist. So I'm going to show you a scene, watch carefully, and pay attention to some clues as to what's being communicated by the character that they are interviewing.
Have you heard about Noah?
I did. Sad. Can you do a shiatsu massage?
No.
Shame, I'm tight. So tight, and my skin is so dry and flaky.
The visitor log says that Noah was the only person who came to see you. How did you know him?
Grad school. I felt sorry for him. He was a little off. My guess was radiation. How did he die?
Gunshot wound.
Why would they want to kill Noah anyway? Big wuss.
Quite. His killer wore a clown costume. Any ideas who that might have been? Assuming, of course, that it is a carbon-based life form.
Nuh-uh. But the clown thing's clever. Noah hated them.
We understand that you were working on a problem for Tolman Bunting.
Yeah, my doctors wanted to nix it, but I convinced them it was good therapy. Don't touch that!
Did you know that Noah was working on one for him too?
Which makes him a big-ass hypocrite.
So, fans of the show who saw that episode recently are going to know the answer to this, so don't ruin it in the comments. The question is for those of you who don't remember or who haven't seen that episode. If you were having that conversation with that person who's sitting on their bed eating their can of spaghetti or whatever it was, what would you think, or what would you identify and take everything into consideration that this person's needs are? Be specific. Forget the pyramid we looked at earlier. Tell me what clues you saw, whether it's in what he said or something around him. And there might be some you'll identify that they didn't even talk about in the episode, but let me know in the comments, what needs would you think that this person has? I'm really curious to see what you guys are going to come up with, and I will let you know in your comment. I'll respond to let you know how accurate you were. And now we return to the casino from the beginning, and I want you to look at this scene because Patrick Jane caught a dealer who was cheating, and he said this.
By the way, I hate to be a telltale, but Alexandra's robbing you blind.
Excuse me?
She's cheating. She's flashing her hidden card to the big guy on the end of the table. When that didn't work, she's stealing the rest of the table cards from just underneath the top of the deck and holding back the top cards for him.
First and foremost, I'm going to completely ignore the fact that when they zoom in on her hands to show how she was cheating, they obviously brought in a hand double because her hands went from being these little tiny, very thin hands that we see at the end of that scene to just these giant hands that pretty much swallow the entire deck of cards. So clearly they brought someone else in to do that, and also the person's technique is really, really good. But right now I'm going to tell you how you can identify when someone is going to cheat. And the way you do that is by the way they hold the deck. Because most people, when they're going to play cards or deal cards and know nothing about cheating, hold the deck like this. The thumb is on top, all the other fingers are on the side. But to a cheater, this is very impractical because the front is exposed, so all the players could see if the card were to come from anywhere besides the top. And second, your fingers are blocking the side of the deck here. People who cheat use something called the mechanic grip. And there's two ways to do this. One of them is with the index finger stretched across here. As you notice, it's blocking a lot of that front and it's reaching that corner over there. And this is the grip that the person in the show was using. The other way to do mechanics grip is this. So it's the same thing except for the middle finger is the one in the corner here. That adds the index here to hide the deck. That way no player can see that front. And most importantly, it creates a nice big opening here on the side of the deck if I want to go get that bottom card. The other reason this is great is because only my middle finger is holding the deck. My other fingers are free to help me manipulate. So as an example with this grip, I could show you how easy it is to take the bottom card out of the deck. So these are all coming from the bottom, even if it looks like it's the top one. I'll flip that over so you could see. See, that one's face up and the thumb pushes it and I grab the cards out of the bottom like this. And you cannot do that if your fingers are blocking here. There's no way to do that. Plus, if I were to do it, you would see that it's coming from the bottom. So once again, if they're holding the deck like this or like this, basically with something in that corner holding that deck in place, they're probably about to cheat. So there it was, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. We covered a lot of stuff in this one, from cheating to people reading to how mentalists lie to you shamelessly. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you on the next one.